Welcome everybody back to Talk of the Town here in Pearland. It's the end of August 2025. We're kicking off the school year.
School's back in session and college football is in full swing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Come tomorrow night, Thursday night.
Yep.
I think I read something that there's some 90 games between now and Sunday.
Good.
So football season.
Okay.
I mean, last weekend there was just a taste of college football. You know, back in the air, and so here we go. And
you got your season tickets ready? Your weekends?
Absolutely. I got my trips planned out for my Red Raiders, and you know it scares me to death when they're all hyped up the way they are this year. It kills me. But Friday Night Lights on Friday nights, here we go.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. So
it's fun hearing the bands play.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you're quiet enough, you can hear them.
Yeah.
You know, they've been doing a lot of prep work, especially here in Pearland.
So it's that time of year.
Yes, it is. It's an exciting time to be here, and we're glad to be back and thankful to be with everybody here.
Hard to believe that it's the end of August.
I know.
So,
it flew. This month felt like a blur. I'm not. I guess because of the start of school and everything, but it just went by in a blink. So we're right back here. We are trying a different time. If you noticed, usually if we do a morning show, we start at 9. We're trying 10 o'clock. Want to see how that works for people in terms of watching online and in the engagement. Want to thank everybody who submitted questions. We've grouped a lot of those into the categories, and you know, roads, infrastructure, construction. What was the other section? We did lights and traffic, drainage. Yep. So we're going to try to tackle those in all the different sections. And we're going to start with roads and construction, and then maybe talk a little bit of tax rate and stuff. Try to get to as many of those, and then the live comments as well as we go through everything.
Right.
So you want to kick it off? Talk roadways and construction.
Yeah. Let's kick everything off with roads and construction. I mean, I think that's a big key, and it's a lot of questions. And I think we can do a little bit of a holistic approach to some of these questions that are here. There's some themes that are working in. First and foremost, I guess 2 weeks ago, we approved the interlocal agreement with Brazoria County. It's our annual interlocal agreement with them. We've been doing that as a city 30, 35 years now, maybe longer, somewhere in that ballpark. And just want to remind people that in Brazoria County, just like Harris County and Fort Bend County, but the bulk of our city being in Brazoria County, you pay county taxes, and you also pay road and bridge fees with your licensing renewals, with the county. And so that's county dollars, and in this interlocal agreement that we've had for many, many decades, it's those dollars coming back into the city for some of our roadways, specifically our asphalt roadways that we're able to do some rehab work on and extend the life of those roadways. So approved 2 weeks ago. That work will start sometime in September. It's always a little bit of a moving target date because, as you know, the county is very, very big.
Sure.
They've got lots of roadways that they work on. They're in the midst of working on some roads currently. And when they're finished with that work, they'll mobilize and come in. We do have a contract with PaveCon, another contractor, outside contractor, on base repairs. The biggest problem we're having with asphalt roads is the sub-base. When the sub-base starts failing, that's when the roadway starts failing. And so it's no secret. We've been having drought conditions, the big drought in 2011, and a couple of summers ago, 2 summers ago, 3 summers ago, we had back-to-back droughts, and those types of weather conditions compromise what's going on underneath the surface that you don't see. So we want to make sure that we come in, do some good base repairs. But the good news, Veterans Road is included in that, which is greatly needed. But we've been saying it's going to be included in the interlocal. It's there. Old Chocolate Bayou, Plum. I'm trying to remember. O'Day are included in that. There's about 4 miles of roadway that's included in that, and that's just about to get started here in the next month.
And we've been talking about this one for a while because we know Veterans needs to be paved, and it is part of this interlocal agreement. what that interlocal agreement gets us is asphalt materials at Brazoria County's cost. They buy a much larger scale than we do, right. So we get a more effective cost there. And then their machinery and their labor. Yep. So we don't have to own the machinery.
Yeah, so we pay for the materials.
Yep.
They pay for the labor.
Yep.
And then in addition to that, we've got an outside contract with
right.
the base repairs.
Yeah. So Brazoria County does the asphalt paving. PaveCon will do the sub base for us. In this case, I think they said it's a liquid, it's a slurry mix, so yeah. It'll have concrete mixed into it. Yeah. And they're pretty excited about that in terms of, to Mayor's point, the foundation, makes a more stable road, should make it last longer, things like that. They're going to start in Old Chocolate Bayou, and then I think they're going to be moving back east from that direction. So look for, excuse me, for more detailed scheduling from us, from the city as we move on with that. But we're also going to use this opportunity to collect more content and publish more content just around how that whole process works.
Yeah, and so another
pretty fascinating.
Yeah, another component of roadways and construction and those types of things. So, in addition to that, we're coming around to a new budget year beginning October 1, which also means new budget. So there's new monies coming available for roadway repair. I'm happy to report Council has been continuing to increase that budget. I also want to just maybe do a little education point here. For a good period of time, probably 12 years or so, we really capped our roadway budget at about $1 million a year. And it was and I'll just say it was one of the sacrifices that we as a city had to make as we built a fire department. I said this at a budget meeting about 3 weeks ago that 13 years ago a conscious decision was made to build a full-time fire department in our city because we simply couldn't get the volunteers, and it meant every single department in the city had to sacrifice at some level to create that funding stream and create everything that is the fire department, from firehouses to equipment to certainly personnel. And so streets took a back seat to that, unfortunately. We're living with the results of that today. But last year, the last 2 years, Council has increased that $1 million to $1.5 million this past year to $2 million. And then this next year, we're adding $800,000 into that, so to $2.8 million a year. And hopefully with that, we will start making even more inroads into catching up inroads on catching up with some of our road repair. But in addition to that, like I said, we've got another contract in the works right now that we pay for outside of the work that we do with Brazoria County. That one I don't have an exact timing on, but we will.
Yeah, it should be coming soon.
We should be out for bid in that bid process here, hopefully in the next month or so.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, that would probably be a January start date, somewhere in that ballpark when you give the timing of it. So we can get a more refined date offline, but that one is coming. And then in addition to it, we went to the voters in 2023 with drainage projects, and in almost every single one of those drainage projects, there is road rehab and road rework that needs to do and needs to go on. Specifically, there was a question here about Fight Road. Fight is one of those. We need to actually look at the timing of some of those. So you will see some patching of potholes on some of those roadways, because it doesn't make sense for us to come in and rehab the road only to have it torn up by large equipment.
That'd be throwing good money after that.
When we do the drainage project. So Fight was actually, because it's a very, very long road, it's split into 2 sections for the drainage work, but on the heels of every single one of those, we have road rehab work that's going on. So all total, there'll probably be another 30 to 35, maybe even $40 million that goes into road rehab work. But it's part of that drainage program. Another example of that is Harkey. Harkey between Fight back to Broadway. It's in really bad shape. Again, that whole roadway is going to be reworked, widened to 4 lanes, curb and gutter, concrete, as a result of the drainage project that will go forward, and that's all in that drainage work. So we'll be seeing that geared up for engineering and then construction over the next 2 years. So,
and Charlene Coring, that was a question she had about Fight and Harkey specifically. Right. So I think that covers that pretty well.
Yeah, and so we'll have those around, and so sometimes I know it's not what you want to see or drive over, but there actually is a schedule to all of this.
And we do have an interactive map on the website, under the streets division of the website, that has where we are now, where we're going to be in the next 3 to 6 months, so forth and so on. So if you're ever curious about that, you can zoom into a specific area and see not only when it's scheduled, but also the pavement condition, because roads, generally speaking, there's a real method to methodically going through the entire community, and starting with the worst roads, the lowest pavement condition index, and then working our way up from there. So, the streets team worked really diligently to use data to drive that, and then to use all of the resources that are available to them, like
to maximize it.
Right. The interlocal agreement with Brazoria County, the bond funding, general funds, things like that, to maximize the effectiveness of the dollars they have at their disposal.
And through some of the comments, there were several comments about traffic lights and traffic signals.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through every single one of them and address, because I'm not a traffic engineer, nor do we have the traffic signaling right here. Yeah. What I want to do on all of these, we'll get with Yvette and in our customer service folks, and let's go through these one-on-one with them as a follow-up to make sure that we, number one, cover specifically the traffic signals that are in question. For example, we might have a piece of equipment that fails, a sensor fail or something like that at any given moment.
Yep.
And we've got to get out and obviously do that. First day of school, Pearland High School over here on Highway 35 Main Street. I mean, we had a left turn signal that would turn to left turn for about 2 seconds, and then it would go away.
Yeah.
It was a component in the traffic signal that had gone bad, and obviously we had to replace that. So those types of things do happen. It's not an excuse; it just happens.
Sure.
And so
we
need to, but each one of these we need to go through and see. There's been some comments about traffic light enforcement, people running red lights. We have done traffic light enforcements and special task force periodically. To see if it makes any difference, and I hate to say it, but even with police officers in the intersection, it doesn't make any difference with people running red lights. We end up writing a lot of tickets, but it doesn't curb, and we have the data, it doesn't curb behavior, which is sad.
Well, and one of the questions specifically talked about the intersection of 518 and Pearland Parkway. I guess I drive it pretty frequently because I'm just down the street from it and I'm constantly going that way. But I've witnessed a motorcycle officer, sitting observing that intersection many, many times.
Right.
And so, a lot of it is time of day of week, but it is an intersection that is of interest. Another one of the questions was, why don't we put up cameras? Because there are so many.
They're illegal in the state of Texas.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. So they've tried red light cameras in the past and found that they're unconstitutional.
And the issue with a red light camera, the way they were instituted years ago, I was on a council that voted against them because of due process. Due process, it automatically, you were guilty, here's a ticket. And the ticket went to the owner of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. So somebody else could be driving it with the behavior, and the owner of the vehicle received the ticket, and there was no due process in that. So the state of Texas actually outlawed them back in the early to mid 2000s. So you can't have those traffic red light traffic enforcement. Unlike the flock cameras record every vehicle that goes by and the license tag. And so, for example, we have a a crime that might get committed. It might be a robbery. It might be something of that nature. We catch a vehicle, maybe not even get the full license tag. We get a good description of the vehicle.
Yep.
They can actually feed that into the flock camera system. They can get certain hits that went through our flock camera system. They can ID those. They can get back to witnesses and what have you and say, yep, that was the vehicle that left. And obviously they've got license tag information there.
Sure.
They can then possibly track down, obviously, the owner of the vehicle. It might end up being the driver and who was doing the criminal activity. So due process ultimately happens. It's from gathering data and gathering information so we can track down people in the event we do that. So unlike the traffic enforcement, the due process comes in the overall case of a flock camera case.
And I want to make one more point on the streetlights too, because we've gotten a couple of comments about that. We can certainly answer them here, but if you're driving through Pearland and experience a light that you feel like is operating out of the norm or is taking too long, report that to 1900. And each one of the reports is submitted to either connect through the Connect Pearland app, or if you search for Connect Pearland on the City of Pearland website, or email 1900@pearlandtx.gov. Every single one of those is reviewed and then submitted to the appropriate department. In this case, it's going to go to traffic operations because they're going to be the ones that review the timing of the lights in every single situation. But channeling it through that allows them to be all aggregated in one place. And the faster we know about those things, the faster they can be reviewed and resolved.
Right. I want to address Sylvia Hodges' comment here about sidewalk work. We'll probably reach out to her separately and ask for some specific. I know she has Pearland Parkway from Independence Park to the Clear Creek Trail. We need to look specifically at some of those, but also some of the other sidewalks that they're talking about. They may be private property where we have code enforcement action maybe going on with someone. Sounds like it's overgrown somewhere and those types of things. So we try to do that. If it's private property that a trail or a sidewalk goes through, there's a state mandated process that you have to go through, and unfortunately it's time and it doesn't work too well.
If you look at there's a layer that we have on our map that shows ownership of different areas, and depending on where you are in the city, it could be, to your point, the individual homeowner, the HOA, it could be public property. It really just depends on the location. But certainly something that we want to.
Yeah, but also, I mean, we do have a very robust sidewalk program going on right now for not only filling in gaps, but also repair work. Those are done in zones around the city. That was part of our 2023 bond program, about $15 million into sidewalks. And so making a lot of headway in that. And so while they may not be fixing a sidewalk today, it's probably in a list and they'll be doing it in that zone. So they try to work in a specific zone and do everything in that zone before moving on, so they keep equipment, manpower, and everything else, concise in an area. It's a little more efficient that way as opposed to just, buckshot all over town.
Sure.
Right.
Couple other things on the streets. We did get the one comment from Pan DiMartino about an update on Bailey.
Oh, Bailey. Yeah, so Bailey, good question. Bailey, the schedule on Bailey, it's not behind schedule or anything like that. Actually, it's ahead of schedule right now. The schedule has the contractor allowed to complete all the way into sometime in the first quarter of 26. And so right now they've been stalled because the railroad company requires a certain type of fencing. If you go and look at the existing lanes that we've been driving over for a few years, you'll see a certain type of curved fence there. And so fencing came in, it was the wrong one. I think it's federally mandated, the type of fence that you have to use. And I know somebody made a comment that sounded fishy. Well, it might be fishy. Talk to the feds, because what they require we have to do.
Sure.
And so
Sure.
federal and the railroad has to do. So it came in, it was the wrong one, and we're waiting on that fencing to come in.
Fencing.
So they can get that fencing up. Yes, they are working, albeit slowly, on some of the median type stuff. My guess is they want to mobilize their crew and finish all at one time.
Sure.
So as soon as they finish and get that fencing in, we'll be able to get the eastbound lane open, so we can have traffic going both ways, and they'll be finishing up the median stuff. We've been told we've got somewhere between 45 and 60 days to finish everything that's out there.
Awesome.
So fingers crossed that we can get the fencing in and done. So.
Yep, perfect. Yeah. There's a couple of these people, like Richard Wheeler asked about getting a speed bump on Ray Street. That's similar to like with the traffic lights. Those are things that need to be submitted to our teams. There is a traffic calming committee that review a lot of different things like that, and the solution may not always be a speed bump. It depends on the situation, but
and I'll say to Richard, they speed bumps are extremely controversial in a neighborhood. They just are. And so in the mid-2000s, we created a policy on traffic calming devices, and we put that in the hands of the homeowners in the particular areas. So if there's a request to do that, we do have a traffic committee where all traffic calming requests will go through to be looked at. There are certain streets that we will not allow speed humps on, obviously, because they may be a major collector street or something of that nature. And so we do take those requests very, very seriously. But we also put it back in the hands of the homeowners. Just because a homeowner is requesting it doesn't mean that it gets granted.
Right, exactly.
Ultimately, it requires 75% of the affected area and those property owners to petition and be on it. One things that we don't want, because for everyone who might want one, there's somebody that doesn't want them.
Yeah.
And what we don't want to be is the arbiter inside of a neighborhood that's trying to decide whether or not speed humps are going in, and the neighborhood is at odds with each other over putting them in.
Yeah.
We want the neighborhood to solve it on their own, and then come in unified. So 75% is our threshold for that.
Yeah.
We have done that. We've had neighborhoods that have come in with 90+%, and they've got speed bumps today, or speed cushions. It depends on how you do it. And so we do have a process to do that. It is a process. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time, but it can work. And to Josh's point, it might not be speed bumps that's required.
Right.
It might be something else.
Yeah. And we try to encourage residents, especially to work with and allow the traffic calming committee to go through that process because they want to find the most effective and thoughtful solution, regardless of the location or potential outcome, and know that there are alternatives out there.
Right.
There were a couple other comments about questions about, or really comments. Trees in the median that were leaning.
We'll have to get those looked at.
Well, and I was going to suggest there's a couple, there's one that's from Lauren Helfrich, actually another one, I'm sorry, Laura, a sign that was taken out, run over and never replaced. Things like that, we'll make sure that we reply to you on those, but we'll submit them to our Public Works Department because they're going to be the ones to review that. We have a right-of-way team that all they do are the trees that we have in the median, make sure that they're healthy, and if they're dead or falling over, pull them out, replace them. Speed limit signs. They get a lot of requests for street lights, which we haven't talked about. We talk about a lot. They don't actually do, but they pass them on to CenterPoint. So all those things go to 1900, which is that main CenterPoint there. Actually goes for customer service and then onto EPW. But we'll make sure that we submit those and get them reviewed for you.
Diane Thornton's question, that's one we'll turn over, the parabolic
this question
mirror. It's very specific right there. So that's one we can turn over to the traffic committee to take a look at. If there's a sight line issue, that's something that we can take a look at to see how we address it.
Sounds good.
So again, we want to turn all of these over to our new customer experience officer, Yvette and her team, we can go through these and what we can jump on immediately, we'll get on, and others might need some additional research and what have you, as well as we may be able to reach out through a private message or what have you through communications to get a better way to contact you than through Facebook, maybe a phone call or an email address, so we can get these done.
Yeah, usually though, if it's damage to something that's in the right of way or in the road, I mean the majority, if it's public property, obviously we'll submit that information. We'll look through our geographic information systems. If it's private property, or depending on where the lines are, we'll submit that where it's appropriate. But anytime any of those get reported to us, that's a process we'll go through.
So I want to answer Gene Sims here.
Sure.
Potholes and cracks in the pavement of country.
Yeah,
club. Yes. I mean that's part of our concrete streets, and unlike asphalt streets, they're a little bit more difficult and costly to do those repairs. Ultimately, Green Tea, that subdivision, Wood Creek, that whole subdivision, and several others are going to take some bond programs to be able to come in and completely redo those streets. But in the meantime, it's spot repairs.
Yep.
So we can have somebody look specifically, or we'll reach out to Mr. Sims and ask, if there's a particular address, so we can hone in on it and take a look at it.
And you are going to see us working in Green Tea on a different project on the utility side,
right.
Coming up starting in the middle-ish of September.
Yeah.
It is the Transite water line replacement,
right.
Which is a large program within the community. The most recent one they did was Wood Creek, if I remember correctly. But they're concrete lines made by the Transite company that were installed in the 60s. That material's brittle and it's more susceptible to breaking. So they're going through and pipe busting those, replacing them with modern PVC for water supply. What you'll see though is that they're burrowing under the streets. There's not going to be a lot of destruction of the streets or anything like that. So.
So I want to answer Holly Conrad's question real quick. There's
sure.
two questions about the unfinished construction at the entrance to Shady Crest. Here we go again with what we have to do in state law versus what we'd like to do, maybe.
Yeah.
And so if somebody is, albeit slow, if they continue to work, they can.
Yep.
And so I'll just say this owner, this guy that's putting in the coffee shop, I'm just going to say it. I don't care what he says or what he thinks. He's incredibly irresponsible as a business owner and a developer in how he's doing business. He's probably going to get negatively rewarded for that when the coffee shop gets open. He's going to have to learn the hard way, probably, how not to do business. But unfortunately, within guidelines and within law and everything else, he's within the guardrails, albeit very, very carefully. It is an eyesore. We have code enforcement cases constantly on this guy. And even code enforcement cases, it's not like we issue a warning or a ticket or anything else and he fixes it the next day. Instead, no, he'll wait 2, 3, 4 months to go to court and then maybe do something else. And so he's incredibly irresponsible. I've asked staff to be able to contact him and they won't let me just yet because I would tell him you need to bulldoze the whole thing and move, go somewhere else. We welcome businesses, but not when it's irresponsible like that. And so he's gonna learn a very hard lesson financially, I'm quite sure, once he's open, if he ever is. And that's a pretty strong statement from me. That's usually not the way I want to be, but this guy's irresponsible with what we're doing. I wish we could do more. I wish the law in Texas would allow us to do more, but it doesn't. I wish we could condemn it and be done with it, but we can't. And so know that staff, code enforcement, legal, everyone else is on top of that one every day. Her second question about Melody Road, that is an example of there's a drainage project in that specific area that is in final design as we speak, and when that work gets done, there's going to be rehab of road work throughout that entire subdivision.
And that goes back to what the mayor was talking about before, where if we already have a drainage project plan, you don't want to do a road project before you do the drainage. Drainage project, because you'd end up having to redo that road twice, and that would just be a waste of resources. So
you'll see spot repairs. We probably need to have Melody take a look at.
Again, another one. We'll submit that to 1900.
We need to make a look at. So you'll see spot repairs until we get that drainage project complete and the roadways rehab.
Sounds good. Let's see. There was one more on the street side. This is actually, I think more, it's drainage. Okay, yeah. So moving on to drainage, it says, this is from Patrick Lloyd, a creek on the north side of Heritage Green that had been dug out and widened several times to help drainage. Last several years, rain has not helped, a lot of erosion. The creek is now so eroded that the fence lines are starting to fall over to the creek. Severe erosion. Apparent at the manholes.
Patrick, I know the ditch that you're talking about. That is a DD4, so Brazoria County Drainage District number 4. They control that ditch. They do all the maintenance on that ditch. That's one that our engineering, we need to get with DD4, and if there's erosion there, we need to get with them on doing something about the erosion, because if it erodes too much, you're going to start seeing fences and all those kind of things fall into that ditch, which is not good.
Yep.
And so that's one. Let us turn over to code enforcement to take a look at it. That'd be interesting. We probably should knock on the door of DD4, not just issue them code enforcement.
I was going to say, yeah. Okay. For those that aren't familiar, so there is Brazoria County Drainage District number 4. Try to mash all that together. BDD4. Yeah. They have an office right here in Pearland, and in a work yard over here as well. And they're responsible for most of the major creeks, most of the major estuaries that come through.
And then the major ditches that connect to
major ditches, and a lot of the detention ponds and things like that. Yeah. So they're technically a regional, drainage partner, right. Have their own budget line item and collect taxes separately, and we have joint partnerships. So, things like the Mary's Creek that runs through Independence Park, the section of the creek all the way up through the berms is BDD4, and then everything around it is city. Right. So you get a little tricky. I mean, you really got to study the property right. lines there, but extremely valuable partnership, and one that our engineers work closely with theirs to make sure that things that need to be addressed are addressed, and that we're all working in right. unison there. So we'll pass that along to
on the utilities and water, the John Fisher's. Joe, is that comment that we're seeing here been put up to him? We're showing that that we have taken a look at the leak that's there, and
I don't think we replied to that comment yet.
We haven't got back to that.
Okay. We're showing, we have taken a look at that. We're not sure what number was called into, but the issue has been investigated and determined to be a leak on the private side, which is the HOA. So we can respond to John on that and see where we go with that repair.
Next one on that's utilities water. Are there any plans to lower water rates?
Well, our water rates is what's paying for new investments in some of our water and wastewater.
Yep.
This is always a tough subject to talk about because it's real money and those types of things. So when you look at our water rates, it's all in, and we've been spending a lot of money creating a new water plant, surface water treatment plant. It was about $175 million. You've got about a $75 million expansion to one of our wastewater plants. Mm-hmm. And then now we're in the midst of, if you've been out on Pearland Parkway at Berry Rose, you see that construction going on, and that is a multifaceted construction problem where we have two very old wastewater treatment plants, one on Longwood at Dixie Farm Road, right there at the creek. That plant is 60 years old and now, or 61 or maybe 62 years old now, mm-hmm. and sits in the floodway.
Yep.
So every time we have a major flooding event, that entire plant goes underwater, and you have raw sewage and effluent that goes down the creek, and we get we get nasty grams from the EPA.
Sure.
Saying we need to do something about that. They know we're in construction to do away with that plant, and we will pump all of that wastewater back to Berry Rose. Berry Rose is 55 or 56 years old.
Yep.
And so we're not just rehabbing, we're reconstructing all of that into a single plant.
You've driven past it, you'll notice a significant amount of construction.
Plant. So that whole project with all the different components is $260 million. And so
$250 million.
So just that one. So all the plant work together is over half a billion.
Yeah, $500 million
in investments, and water rates support that.
Right.
And so
because it's a self-sustaining, self-sufficient system.
So to arbitrarily lower rates, we have to pay for the system.
Right.
If we lower rates, we can't pay our bills.
You're right.
I mean, it's that simple.
But
so we've got to be. So we try to run that system as close to break even as we possibly can. We do have reserves and certain reserve amounts that we have to have in place because of the bonding agencies and rating agencies. And so we run it as thin as possible.
And sometimes at a slight deficit, which is not sustainable, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, that's part of the delicacy of it. And you'll see, watch the budget meetings, watch those conversations, because there is a very sophisticated and well thought out rate model that maps out the rates every single year. And it takes into consideration the demand on the system, the outstanding debt that we have to pay for all that infrastructure, a number of different things. And to your point, I mean, the hard part of the reality is if we don't invest in the system, then you don't get clean water delivered to your house, and you don't get water that's treated and then entered responsibly back into the environment. And we, as a Superior Water System, have a responsibility as a community to provide the community with clean water and then take care of it appropriately on the back end.
Right. And so it's not a good answer. It's an expensive answer. But let me tell you this: if we didn't do, let me tell you the cost. If we didn't
game that out for a second. Yeah.
If we did not do this, we have a city in the greater Houston area that ignored the EPA.
Because, well, I don't want to speculate why they did it, but if we were going to do the same thing, if we said we're going to lower water rates so we can't
hundreds of millions of dollars in doing a project, and they wanted to avoid and push off and push off and push off, and a $700 million fine later.
A fine, not the project.
Not the project.
The project was expensive.
$700 million fine later. Okay, and they had to pay the fine. That's in their water rates, plus doing the project.
Right.
So it's irresponsible as a community to have a plant in the floodway and release raw sewage into the creek. That is irresponsible as a community, and I can't even believe we've had to do that, and we have. And so it's irresponsible for us to do that and not move to do something away with it.
Yeah.
And you're not just going to pick the plant up and move it.
Right.
So the land that the city owns, the limits of the land is in the floodway. Creeks move over time. 60 plus years ago, none of us were in this business. And so, we didn't put that plant there. Our forefathers did. And creeks and floodplains and floodways and those types of things move over time. We're very, very sensitive to water rates and all of those kind of things. Unfortunately, water in Texas right now is a huge topic.
Sure.
It's a huge topic. And one of the good things we have is we have secured our water rights and for our future. Many, many cities haven't. As we continue to grow as a region over the next 25 plus years, water is going to become even more scarce. It's going to be hard to have. So our big capital investments are nearing an end, which is good. Obviously, maintenance to the system and those types of things will have to carry on.
Sure.
But we should be getting close to a relative build out, if you will, of our infrastructure.
Because we're getting close to,
we're getting close to build out of our overall
on the community.
city.
Yeah,
right. And so Eric, here's a question about when will it be finished? That the
Berry Rose treatment.
Yeah, the Berry Rose wastewater treatment plant. Eric, my best guess is somewhere in about 2 years. Those projects just take a long time.
They're massive.
It's a massive thing. So about 2 years. Mandy, I'm going to turn your question over to our to Yvette and her team to contact
that's
you.
What I was going to suggest. Yeah,
to
Mandy,
contact directly.
Wants to see an investigation and exploration into water billing. So we want to look at your previous conversations and try to better understand, where there might be opportunities to improve. Fortunately for us, all those conversations are recorded. So we can go back and audit for quality customer service. And thankfully, because of our new customer experience team, that's one of the things that they're specifically attuned to doing. So Mandy, we'll send your information over, and then hopefully you'll be seeing a follow-up from us on that pretty quickly.
On the miscellaneous stuff with Mr. Calhoun. Mr. Calhoun is welcome at any of our city council meetings. We meet the second and fourth Mondays of each month, and he has 3 minutes, just like any other citizen, to come in and address council. It would be, in fact, legal has even said we couldn't even legally have a one-on-one meeting with the council and Mr. Calhoun. The Texas Open Meetings Act doesn't allow for that, and so it would be an illegal meeting if we attempted to do that. But just like any other resident in our city, he's welcome to come and address council.
Sounds good. We did have a question from Joe Lovell on here about taxes. Says a lot of chatter on the state level regarding property taxes. As a retiree, I welcome the idea of greatly reduced or the elimination for seniors. Understand the distribution of property tax is a key resource for operating municipalities. It'll require a lot of conversations, calculations, and political posturing to achieve something dramatic or drastic. He asked, do you have any suggestions and or what viable options to replace lost revenue if property taxes were greatly reduced or limited? So fascinating topic.
I love the I love the question that he's proposing here, and so we're talking about reforming the whole system. So I do have an idea and a plan, but it takes multifaceted. To your point, there's lots of people in the legislature right now that are talking about elimination of property taxes. The Republican Party took a stance a few years ago, moving towards the elimination of property taxes. Most people who are in that movement and are calling for that also understand and know that property taxes. There is municipal need, government need for certain things, and so yes, they know that revenue has to be replaced with something. There's been conversations about value-added taxes or consumption taxes. We have a vehicle, it's called a sales tax. It's already there, why create something new? But the problem on property taxing is twofold. There's an issue in appraisals, and there's an issue then on property taxes and how we systematically reduce or remove property taxes. There's multiple property taxes. School has one, city has one, county has one, so forth and so on,
bridges,
right? And so as a mayor, I don't have a say-so on a school tax. I don't have a say-so on a county tax. We only have a say-so in the city tax.
Which is typically only 25 to 30% of a property tax bill, depending on where you are.
Depending on where you are. So let me start with appraisal reform. Right now, you are subject to, and I don't even know really how you define the market. So I'll give you an example. How many people have been burned with their appraisal because let's say their house is 30 years old, it's really not been updated, and 8 doors down, somebody completely updates that home, investor comes in and overpays for that home. you're now subject, your tax bill and your value is now subject to that home.
Sure.
Where's the fairness in that?
Right.
That's not fair, okay? And you can go and argue, you have to spend time, money, and effort to go and do that.
Pay somebody to do it on your
Sleepless nights, the whole thing. So here is a system that we have a senator that ran on 4 years ago, okay? And that is, you put your house on the market at the cost, on the market, on the valuation at the price that you paid for it. So let's just use hypotheticals. You buy a house for $100,000, it goes on the rolls for $100,000.
Yep.
It's then indexed to inflation. Because remember, over time,
CPI.
Government cost, all those kind of things, everything does have an inflationary factor.
Yeah.
So if you got a 2%, 3%, 4%, it's known you're going to go up that each year.
Makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's published, you know it, and there you go. Now, if you add a room, you permit that room for $25,000, you're going on the tax rolls for that additional $25,000,
sure.
right? Because you did that as a
value,
number.
right?
Because you've added value. If you add a pool, you get that bump, okay? But hypothetically, you do that, been that home for 15 years, it's on the tax rolls for $175,000, and you sell it for $225,000. Good for you, right? We're not taking that part out of the equation. It goes to $225,000 on the tax rolls
For
under that owner. Why? Because he paid $225,000 for it.
Right.
He knows, he set the market for that house.
Yep.
And that house is not, and if you go and do all kinds of updates and everything else, you do increase the size of it or whatever, and that bump goes to 250, 275 and the like, then that new owner gets that set and it's indexed to inflation moving on.
For as long as
okay? So you have that system. Commercial properties, there needs to be reform in how that goes on as well. So you need reform in the appraisal system. Here's the interesting thing. The senator that ran on that 4 years ago is Senator Middleton, but he never filed the bill. So there's something going on in Austin that he didn't file the bill. Okay, we should have been having this conversation for the last 4 years, but we don't. There is conversation in the House and the Senate right now about putting things on for what you pay and leaving it there. But I think most people understand there needs to be some indexing. Now, that's the appraisal side, okay? Property tax side over here. I have suggested the only way you're going to eliminate and greatly reduce is you got to have another revenue stream, and that's probably going to be sales tax, so an offset. Here in Pearland, 25 to 30% of our sales tax received comes from people who do not pay a property tax.
Right.
They don't live in the city or have a business in the city.
Yep.
They're in our ETJ, or they're in the county, or they're in Houston, or they're wherever, right? And so they come in and they shop in our stores and eat in our restaurants, and they leave their tax money here. So, so with that being said, give us, the city, the ability to increase sales tax 1 penny. Has to go to the vote of the people. We wouldn't arbitrarily do this. It would be a vote of people in Pearland to do that, and then have at least a minimum of 50% reduction in your, in 50% of that has to reduce the property tax burden.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So let me throw some numbers. Right now, in our situation with our budget and everything else, a penny, and if you did 50% reduction in the property tax rate, it would be a 10 or 11 cent drop in the property tax rate.
Dang.
10 to 11 cents. If you applied all of it, you're talking 20 to 22 cent reduction in your property tax rate.
That's a third.
So that, instead of them paying a higher exemption at the state to just buy down your property tax,
sure.
This is real reform that actually can do something about your property taxes. Here's the other problem that we have with the property tax system and trying to eliminate it. If you just walked in tomorrow and the state legislature said, we're just going to eliminate it tomorrow and do this, they're not advocating that. They are advocating putting a date certain out there, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, to eliminate. But if you just came in and wiped it out, you would throw the municipal bond market in the nation completely into a tailspin.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that would have reverberations around the entire country and around the world, quite frankly. Okay, so that would be an irresponsible move from the financial markets. but you can work your way into either elimination or greatly reduced.
Yep.
When we go to nothing but sales tax, obviously our budgets and everything that we do is going to have a lot more risk.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Versus property tax.
Yep.
And so, but let's say you did that and you actually reduce the 50%. So that would be all contractually in the language of a ballot measure and all of that. Mm-hmm. And that you can start that process. Normalize that with your budgets. Do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again in some period of time. Now here's the problem going all sales tax and eliminating everything. The state has run the numbers and you're talking about you'd have to reduce and eliminate school tax, county, all of that. It would require a 25-cent property or sales tax.
Ooh.
Not the 8.25, 25%.
Yeah.
So is there a balance?
Yeah.
Is there something in there that makes sense that your property tax isn't so onerous?
Yep.
that it becomes difficult? Know this, every time you put an exemption, so every time somebody puts an exemption on a home, or you raise the exemption, or you increase it, or you do disabled vets, and all those different ones, every one of those exemptions, the cost of that is borne by somebody else. Mm-hmm. Somebody else is paying that difference.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
Now,
because it's a balloon. I mean, you push one side, it's going to push up on the other.
And so now, it also means that local governments need to be responsible and fiscally responsible with what they do.
Yeah.
Right. And you can argue over various things that every city does and all of that. But really and truly, government at all levels, federal government, state government, as well as local government, really needs to evaluate who, what, and where they are, and what their responsibility is.
Yep.
Okay? I don't believe as a city, our responsibility is to get into housing, to get into meals, to get into those types of services. There are other agencies, there are other entities, nonprofits, and others that you can team with and go and do. What are our core functions?
Our strategic priorities.
Our
right?
strategic priorities.
Yeah.
Police, fire EMS, public works, streets, drainage, those types of things. We do have parks and our parks.
Which are part of our connected community, right?
It's all part of who we are as a community, okay?
Yep.
And then and those four departments literally make up 85% of our budget or so.
Easy.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the rest of it, from community development to HR,
City
Secretary's office, IT, all of those internal services, finance, all of those make up the difference. Right. And without having separate departments, each one of these departments would have to have many small, HR department and all that.
Yeah.
So we just have them collectively and they work for the whole city. And so we've really, in the last 5 years, have gotten our strategic priorities and who we are as a community drilled down to a certain number. And it's hard. It's hard to do that balance right now in police work. Let's just talk about policing. There is a salary war going on with policing. Mm-hmm. And so what does that mean? Well, less people are going into police work because just open the national media and, there for a while it was the war on police and all of those kind of things. People don't want to go into it. And so if you have less and less people wanting to go into it, then you got to incentivize people to go into it.
Yeah, the recruiting pool gets smaller and more competitive.
So you have more and more agencies around the Houston area that are raising their starting pay. They're putting sign-on bonuses, all those kind of things to get people in the door. And so so we have to respond to that because the last thing we want to do is train officers, do good work, and then we lose them. Yeah. And then we lose them to another agency, right?
Yep.
So that is a balance that we have to walk through to make sure that we keep the officers that we trained and continue to do good work, because that training and everything else cost money.
Yeah.
And so the less we have to retrain, the less we have to train, we can keep our officers, the better off we're going to be. And so that's a delicate balance in how we do it.
Absolutely.
Fire department, same way. We don't want to just train people and then let them go to other departments, and so we have to have that balance. And so it's not an easy balance to go through, but when you start talking about these budgets, that's the where we are, in our taxing structure in Texas. Sure. We need to have more conversation about it. I will say, so my plan on the penny, call it the penny plan, increasing the sales tax a penny. I'm going to give a shout out to our representative, Jeff Berry. He and I have had this conversation. I've had this plan in mind for 4 years. We've talked about it. And he, being in Austin right now, he has actually submitted the penny. Mm-hmm. He's gotten some heads nodding on the Senate side as well. He told me yesterday his bill's coming out of Ledge Council, which means he's actually got an amendment that he's trying to offer up even in this special session now to go in that direction. The reality is it'll probably take a session or two to educate people across the state on how that will work. But the good news is there's some movement there. Mm-hmm. So I think the political alignments and all those kind of things are kind of lining up with the elimination. Like I said, why go create something new if you already have sales tax in place? And
this kind of goes to, earlier in the year you saw us doing the show from Austin talking about how, we're acutely focused on Pearland, but it requires input from our state legislation. They're intimately involved in a lot of things that we do. Sometimes it's a bit more strenuous than others, but the idea that we all want to be effective and efficient, and we're all very sensitive. We all pay taxes too.
And so I want to make the comment. We are trying to finalize budget. Looks as though we're going to go down on our tax rate a half a penny from 63.5 to 63 even. It's a pretty flat budget.
I think it's up maybe 2.1%.
It's 2.1%.
Roughly inflation.
That's there, and so everybody gets different values. Everybody gets different things, on their home and their business. But the median household value in our city, that median household goes down $12 in their actual physical bill in this upcoming budget. So, which means it's pretty flat. It's pretty flat. And so we have seen some people might get a higher adjustment on their appraisal. We've actually seen people come in with a decrease. And so
just depends on where you are.
It just depends on where you are in your circumstances. It's not really doesn't really make sense sometimes, which again goes back to we've got to reform the appraisal system at the same time you have a conversation about property taxes.
Sounds good. I think most of the other pre-submitted questions are things we will submit.
I do want to answer Miss Lee here. Can we get the Shadow Creek Sharks logo?
Oh, yeah.
Water tower?
That's right.
That is actually something we plan to do.
Yeah, sure is.
Because we made this move when we were rehabbing a couple of our other water towers.
It started here, the one on Independence, actually.
We started by Independence, but also the one by Bailey Road. We put the two high schools there, and then the one by Dawson, we put the one there. And then I'm not sure of the schedule. Ms. Lee, we'll need to get the schedule for you, but I know there's a schedule to redo that rehab and that particular water tower. I can't remember if it's in the next year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And so our plan is when we do that to put that Shadow Creek logo.
But I appreciate the questions on that. It is the responsibility of Pearland Water, the city, because it's our water tower. And it is an Alvin ISD, and we want to show community pride and support.
Absolutely.
And so, like on the one on Bailey, we put Turner on one side, Pearland High School on the other, and worked with the school district, and then Dawson on the other tank. So we worked with Pearland School District to make sure we got the creative that they wanted to paint up there. We already had a logo slated to be painted on the tower, so it's just a matter of giving them the artwork. And so we'll do the same on the Shadow Creek tank, work with Alvin ISD to make sure we get the right logo for that. when we get up there.
Yeah, actually, and I cannot find the note because I always wanted to go back to the teacher that brought it to me, but a teacher at I think it was Pearland High School that brought the idea, can we put the logos on the water tower? And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we just so happened to have those two that were in the works.
Yep.
Right then, so we were able to put those. We were able to put those logos on, and like I said, we'll get the Shadow Creek one done when we do it. Michelle Preve, on your questions, those are ones we need to get specifically with code enforcement.
Yeah,
we'll get you some good answers on those.
The construction on 60 at a business on 6500.
Yeah.
So we'll send that over. And then there was one more. It was where was it? I don't know, it escapes me now. Amy Brandt, she was asking about the Pearland Parkway and No Name Road, trying to drop kids off at school and then back up on Pearland Parkway. So again, that's another one we'll send to traffic calming or traffic enforcement and see what they can look at. And questions about parking lots. Yep. So a couple questions we got while we're here. So yeah, Robert Musgrave. So a while back in Town Creek, Woods subdivision dishes were dug out. Asked the field managers if they were also going to clean up the culverts. He said they were going to clean them out, but to date it hasn't been done.
Okay.
So that is our.
That's our drainage.
It should be our drainage crew if they were the ones that were doing the work.
Yeah.
And so Robert will send.
We'll send their note over to
Yvette and her team, and see where they are. I know they have a schedule that goes around the entire community, and they're pretty methodical about how they go through everything. So we'll make sure you can get that information. Where can we see a plan for sidewalk additions from Melissa Fontenot? Yeah, so sidewalk additions, we have a map layer on GIS, and I think it's accessible through our streets map as well. But we'll find that link, Melissa, and we'll send it to you in a reply to your comment.
Yep.
Because that's an ongoing capital project. That's actually another place you can get that information as well.
Yep.
There's like the mayor said, a $15 million bond package that's specifically for filling in the gaps, repairing buckled areas, things like that, and a couple of other things. So they're going through the entire community and looking for those opportunities with that budget that they have.
And when we did that in 23, we knew we didn't kick that off until 24. It was voted on in the middle of 23, and then had to put the program and packages together to get started. And we knew it would be a 3 to 4 year process of getting that out and doing the work. So
cool.
Yep.
Anything else? Any closing comments, thoughts, remarks?
Just again, as always, it's thank everybody for coming out and joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure to come and engage. I think Josh says it often. There's no such thing as bad engagement, and just engaging is really good. And so we love engaging our residents, even if it's a tough question or a hard subject. It's worth having the engagement in the conversation. So sometimes they get a little difficult to get into the weeds, kind of like we did on property taxes and those types of things, and some solutions. But it lets you know, and I'll say this on that. I wish our state legislature would go back home to their individual, cities and their counties and ask, give us some solutions, and because we have solutions, we can see how we can do this, and people go, well, why haven't you instituted your plan? Because the law doesn't allow me to. So we have to follow the law that's out there, and and that's just how it goes.
Yep.
But we're willing to have that engagement. We're willing to have those conversations with our legislators and our senators. But we need them to engage with us as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate the time. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next month.
Sounds
for
good.
another Talk of the Town.
All right. Thank you.